I originally wrote the song Be With Us in the winter of 2019, and it was used for a Christmas series, which makes sense, right? It's a song about God becoming man. It's about the incarnation, and that's what Christmas is about, right? But that's not really what the song is about, or at least not entirely. The song is about loneliness. In that time, I was in a very isolated and lonely place, and I was just struck by how powerful the incarnation actually is. God, an all-powerful God who exists outside of time and space, decided to take on human flesh and exist within time. He went from being a God whose face humans literally couldn't look at without dying, to being a God whose face we weren't that impressed with. Isaiah 53 says it like this: "He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and as one from whom men hide their faces. He was despised, and we esteemed him not." He went from being someone who men hid their faces from so that they wouldn't die, to being someone who men hid their faces from because he was so despicable. I think we spend a lot of time thinking about Jesus' humanity at 2 points: when he was born as a tiny little baby, and then when he died. But the reality is, he's been a human for a long time now. He was a human when he ate meals with tax collectors and sinners. He was a human when he calmed the storm. He's human right now. Even though we don't get to take our hands and put them in his side like Thomas did, he still retains that humanity that he chose to take on. So what does this have to do with me feeling lonely a few years ago? I didn't get the luxury of being on the planet while Jesus was walking around a few thousand years ago. I didn't get to experience his presence or feel his companionship. But if we're being honest, even if I was, I probably wouldn't have appreciated it. But Jesus still did come, and he became human, and he experienced things that I experienced, like loneliness. He certainly didn't need to do this. He certainly could have let us suffer like our sins deserve. He could have abandoned us the way we abandoned him, by separating ourselves from him through our sin. But God is love. Not just love, but undeserved love. Love came down from heaven to be just like one of us, to experience what we experience, to feel what we feel. And yes, he needed to be human so he could die a sacrificial death. I'm not trying to minimize that at all. But why did he do that? Why did he come to be human and experience what we experience and die a horrific death instead of us? It's completely undeserved. But he wanted to be with us. He didn't just want to be with the few thousand people that he got to interact with a few thousand years ago while he was walking around on this earth. He wanted to be with you, and he wanted to be with me. He took on humanity and still retains that humanity so that one day you can look him in the eye, one human being to another, and you will know that he experienced hurt like you did. And he was a victim because he gave up his power so that he could suffer like you suffer and feel loneliness like you feel loneliness. And now you can embrace him, one human body embracing another, and you will feel known and you will feel loved. That's what the song Be With Us is about. It's about a God who wanted so desperately to be with you that he was willing to experience the pain and the suffering and the loneliness so that you wouldn't feel